The day I found my own name printed under the words house staff, I realized my family didn't see me as a grandmother anymore. They saw me as an appliance they hadn't paid for. "Here," my daughter-in-law said, sliding the color-coded Christmas schedule across my kitchen table with a manicured finger. "This will keep things organized so you don't get confused." I watched the paper glide over the wood I'd polished for 35 years. At the top, in big festive letters, it said, "Christmas at Grandma Evelyn's, hosted by Brianna and Andrew." Underneath, in smaller print, "Support staff, Evelyn, 68. Support staff." My name is Evelyn. I was 68 in that December, a widow, a retired school secretary, and a grandmother. And according to this little schedule, I was also the staff in my own house. I pushed my glasses up and read, Monday, Evelyn, deep clean kitchen. Tuesday, Evelyn, prep casseroles. Wednesday, Evelyn, bake pies. Thursday, Evelyn, decorate house, set up extra beds. Friday, Christmas Eve, Evelyn, cook turkey, ham, sides, stay in kitchen. Saturday, Christmas Day, Evelyn, brunch, dishes, laundry. Not one line that said, Evelyn, sit down. Evelyn, rest. Evelyn, be the grandmother. "How many are coming?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. "Oh, not that many," Brianna chirped. "Just 29. My parents, both brothers, Uncle Carlos from Texas, my cousins, all the kids. It'll be magical. I told everyone my mother-in-law makes the best Christmases. They're so excited to meet the famous Evelyn. The famous Evelyn. The one who never appears in photos because she's always in the kitchen behind the camera, or behind the sink." "And you assumed I would handle everything?" I asked. She gave me the kind of smile people give confused children. "Of course. You love this stuff. It keeps you busy. And with your age, it's good for you to stay active. Besides, you're here all day. Andrew works. I have my job. You're basically the full-time housekeeper already." Housekeeper. I could feel my heart pounding, but my body was very still. That's how elder abuse and financial abuse work sometimes. They sneak in wearing helpful sentences until one day someone dares to say what they really think. I folded the paper carefully. One crease, then another, then another. "Perfect," I said. Brianna's smile widened. "Right? It's a great system. It will be a perfect Christmas for all of you," I continued, "because I won't be here." Silence dropped into the room like a stone into deep water. "What?" "I won't be here," I repeated. "I won't be cooking for 29 people. I won't be your maid, your unpaid staff, or your confused grandma in the corner. I'm leaving before your big event." Her face drained of color, then flushed angry red. "Evelyn, that's not funny." "I'm not joking. You can't do this," she snapped. "Andrew won't allow it. And honestly, if you can't handle holidays anymore, maybe it's time we start talking about more supervision. A place with nurses. A facility." There it was. The threat that floats behind so many toxic family stories, narcissistic daughter-in-law stories, elder abuse stories. The unspoken, behave, or we'll put you away. "This is my house," I said quietly. "Not a facility, not a hotel, not your event venue. If you're listening to this right now, I wonder where my little story is reaching. Women like me are everywhere. Tell me in the comments, what city, what state, what country are you hearing my voice from? Because I want to know how far a grandmother's enough can travel. I'm talking to you, especially if you're over 40, over 50, over 60, and someone has treated you like you're a piece of furniture in your own home. That was the day I stopped being furniture. That was the day I picked up my keys and started quietly planning how to take my life, my house, and my dignity back from a toxic, manipulative, almost narcissistic daughter-in-law, and a son who had forgotten who paid for the roof over his head. And I promise you this, they thought they were about to put me in a home. They had no idea I was about to bring the law, the truth, and my granddaughter's courage into their little fantasy. To understand how I got to the point of being called house staff, you have to go back 6 years, to the night my son called me with fear in his voice and hope in his words. Walter, my husband, had been gone for 4 months. His jacket still hung on the back of the chair by the door. His coffee mug still sat beside mine in the cabinet. I still rolled over at night to tell him something and hit cold air instead. The silence in the house was a living thing. Then the phone rang. "Mom!" Andrew's voice was tight. "Brianna lost her job. The baby's coming early. Our lease is up and the landlord wants to sell. We can't renew. Can we stay with you? Just a few months until we get back on our feet?" My first feeling was relief. I wouldn't be alone. There would be a baby in the house. Laughter instead of static. My second feeling was fear. Would I be in the way? In their way? Would they resent me? My third feeling was the one that won. I'm the mother. I fix things. Of course, I said. Come home. Home came in boxes. First the essentials. Then the we didn't have anywhere else to put this items. Then the we'll just store this here for a bit stack that grew until my garage looked less like mine and more like a storage unit for someone else's future. They were grateful at first. Mom, you're a lifesaver. Evelyn, I don't know how we'd manage without you. You're like our angel. I held Lily at 3 in the morning so they could sleep. I did late night bottle washes and early morning laundry. Brianna called me her favorite person on social media and tagged me under smiling holiday photos. Those same photos never showed my swollen ankles, my backache, or my stack of unpaid grief sitting quietly on the bedside table. Slowly, the sentences changed. Can you run to the store? We're out of oat milk. Can you watch Lily Saturday? We really need time as a couple. Can you handle dinner? I'm exhausted from work. They were small things, and I said yes to all of them. Single mothers have stories of being overwhelmed by everything. I was a widowed grandmother. I told myself I was blessed to even be needed. The house began to change. My lace curtains came down, replaced by some gray, minimalist panels Brianna found online. My floral couch was covered with a throw to modernize it. My photos were rearranged so their wedding picture sat front and center, while Walter and I were moved to the end of the shelf. This looks more balanced, she'd say, chewing on the end of a tape roll. One afternoon, I watched her pick up my mail from the hall table before I could reach it. These bank statements are confusing, she said. All these numbers. I'll help you. Andrew and I can handle the boring adult stuff. You've done enough. I've been paying bills since before you were born, I said lightly. Exactly, she replied. You've paid enough. Let us take care of you. You know, older people can get easily scammed now. We'll protect you. It sounded loving. It felt like handcuffs I couldn't see. She changed my online banking password to something safer. She set up auto-pay for everything. Don't worry about it, she said. I've got your back. My neighbor Janice watched the whole slow invasion from her front porch. Janice has 4 sons and the most accurate lie detector I've ever seen in a human face. One evening, she slipped me a glass of iced tea and asked, "How long are they staying?" "Just until they get back on their feet," I said. She snorted softly. "Honey, they've built a guest house on your back." I laughed even though it hurt. Janice's niece worked at a law firm. "Listen," Janice said gently one day, "if they start talking about helping with paperwork, wills, power of attorney, guardianship, anything with the word legal on the top, don't sign a thing without someone in a suit reading it first. Elder abuse isn't just people yelling. Sometimes it's a pen and a smile." I tucked it away as paranoia. Then little things started to slip. A letter from the bank that had held our old mortgage appeared one morning. It mentioned a home equity line and available credit. I assumed it was junk mail, but something about it bothered me. I slid it into the bottom drawer of my desk. A month later, another letter. This one mentioned a balance and an interest rate. The kind of details banks don't bother sending unless something is already moving. I put that one in the drawer too. My bottom drawer, the one where I kept Walter's old gun and the letters he'd written me when we were young, slowly became something else. A file of pieces that didn't quite fit, but all pointed toward a problem. Meanwhile, my role in the house mutated fully from grieving mother to live-in maid. I cooked, cleaned, folded, fetched, soothed. When I dared to sit down for 10 minutes, Brianna would appear in the doorway. "Evelyn, could you—" I began to disappear even from myself. So when she came into my kitchen that December day with a printed schedule, a fake smile, and 29 guests to impress, she didn't realize something important. The woman she reduced to house staff had spent her entire life paying attention, and I was finally ready to put all my noticing to work. If you've ever felt like this, like you slid from mom or grandma into maid without anyone asking, you can type respect in the comments, just so I know I'm not the only one who woke up too late and still decided to fight back. After I told Brianna I wouldn't be there for her perfect Christmas, she stormed upstairs like a teenager, slammed a door that belonged to me, not to her, and called someone on speakerphone loud enough for the whole street to hear. "She's losing it," I heard her say. "Total meltdown. She says she's not hosting. At her age, this kind of irrational behavior isn't normal. Maybe this is the sign we needed." The sign we needed. There's a kind of gaslighting that's subtle and a kind that comes with a floodlight and megaphone. This was the second kind. The front door opened. Andrew walked in. Phone pressed to his ear, tie loosened, laptop bag digging into his shoulder. He kissed Brianna quickly, barely glancing at me as he tossed his keys in the bowl by the wall. 10 minutes later, we were all in the kitchen. Me at the table. Andrew leaning against the counter. Brianna pacing. My schedule, folded now like a little bomb, between us. "Mom," Andrew began, Bree tells me you're upset. I am, I said. Being scheduled like support staff in my own home tends to upset me. Brianna scoffed. It was to help you. You've been overwhelmed, confused. I thought clarity would calm you, but apparently everything is drama with you now. My throat tightened. Drama is a word abusers love. Toxic family members love to call their victim dramatic, hysterical, overly sensitive, especially when that victim is an older woman. I'm not confused, I replied. I'm tired. I'm disrespected. That's different. Andrew sighed. Look, Mom, it's just 1 week. It's family. Brianna's uncle is flying in. Her cousins changed their plans. We can't cancel everything because you're having a mood. A mood. I blew out a slow breath. I didn't say cancel. I said I won't be here. Brianna's eyes flashed. You can't leave. Who's going to cook? You know I can't handle all that alone. And restaurants are insane at Christmas. If you really loved your family, you wouldn't abandon us like this. It's emotional blackmail. Emotional blackmail. That was rich. Emotional blackmail, I repeated. You mean like telling me a good grandmother always puts family first, even when she's limping? Like telling me I'd ruin Lily's childhood memories if I said no to hosting one more time? Andrew shifted uncomfortably. Brianna's voice sharpened. This is exactly what I'm talking about. She twists everything. Andrew, you know she's been off. We've talked about this. The forgetfulness, the mood swings, the time she left the tea kettle on. I turned it off myself, I said. After how long? Brianna snapped. What if Lily had been here alone? What if the house had burned down? This is elder abuse in reverse. We're trying to protect you and you're punishing us. Elder abuse. If you've never been on the receiving end of guardianship threats, let me tell you, they don't always come as we're taking everything. Sometimes they come wrapped in, we're worried about you. Andrew cleared his throat. Mom, we made an appointment for you with a geriatric specialist. Just a simple cognitive assessment to make sure you're still safe to handle all this. Bills, house decisions, holidays. If the test shows you're fine, great. If it doesn't, then we'll need to step in more, for your own good. Step in how? I asked. Brianna glanced at him, then said, we can look at guardianship, or power of attorney. It's standard. Lots of families do it. My Uncle Carlos says it's the smart thing to do before things get worse. You won't have to stress about anything anymore. We'll sign for you. There it was. The real conflict. Not Christmas. Control. You want me to sign control of my house and money to you, I said. We want to keep you safe, she insisted. And honestly, this house will be ours one day anyway. We're just formalizing what's already true. Walter and I had worked 35 years for this house. Every brick had a story. Every payment had a memory. The idea of Brianna saying this will be ours anyway made my chest hurt. And if I refuse? I asked. Brianna folded her arms. Then maybe the doctor will agree you're not capable of making those decisions anymore. And then a judge will decide. And judges don't like when confused older people put themselves at risk. Sometimes they order placement in a facility, which, honestly, might be better. You'd have 24-hour care, and I'd lose my home, I said. Well, she said sweetly, is a building more important than your safety? We'd visit. Lily would visit. You wouldn't be alone. She said it like a gift. It sounded like a threat. I looked at Andrew, hoping he'd flinch, defend me, say, that's too far. He rubbed the bridge of his nose instead. Mom, let's not blow this up. This is standard stuff. You're almost 70. It's not elder abuse, it's planning. All we're asking is that you let us help with everything on paper. You don't even like computers. I looked at both of them and felt something inside me click into place. They were not just taking advantage of me. They were actively plotting to make their control legal. They were building guardianship abuse with a smile. That night, after they retreated to the living room to watch TV like nothing had happened, I went to my bottom drawer. I took out the letters, the statements, the strange home equity notices. I laid them on my bed like puzzle pieces. Then I took Janice's crumpled sticky note from my Bible, the one with her niece's law firm scribbled on it, Clark & Associates, elder law, family law. My hand trembled as I dialed the number. Clark & Associates, this is Melissa, a calm voice answered. Hello, I said. My name is Evelyn Harper. I think my daughter-in-law is trying to take my house and my rights, and she's using the word love to do it. If you're still here with me, and this sounds even a little like your reality, I want you to really hear this part. The day I called that lawyer was the day I stopped blaming myself for being dramatic and started calling what was happening by its real names: financial abuse, guardianship abuse, elder abuse, toxic family dynamics. Naming a thing doesn't make it worse. It makes it clear. A few days later, I sat in a small office that smelled like printer ink and stale coffee, clutching my purse in my lap like a life raft. A man with kind eyes and a tie patterned with tiny scales of justice came in and smiled. "Mrs. Harper, I'm Mark Clark," he said, extending a hand. "Janice told us a little about your situation." Janice. That woman was proof God sometimes sends neighbors as angels in comfortable shoes. "Tell me in your own words what's going on," Mark said. So I did. I told him about Walter dying, about Andrew and Brianna moving in, temporarily, about my house slowly turning into a stage for a narcissistic daughter-in-law's Instagram life. I told him about being called housekeeper, about the Christmas schedule with house staff, about them planning a cognitive test and talking about guardianship and facilities, as if my mind and home were theirs to file away. Then I set my own little stack of evidence on his desk. The bank letters, the statements, the home equity line data, the bits of financial abuse I had quietly collected. He read in silence for several minutes, eyebrows knitting. "Mrs. Harper," he finally said, "has any doctor diagnosed you with dementia, Alzheimer's, or any cognitive decline?" "No," I said. "My doctor says I lose my glasses, not my mind." He smiled. "Do you feel you can understand financial documents if someone explains them?" "I've been a school secretary for 30 years, I replied. "I've balanced budgets with less information than those statements have." He nodded. "Good. That matters. Because what your daughter-in-law is doing, hinting that you're confused, setting up a cognitive test, then planning guardianship and control over your assets, is a pattern we see in guardianship abuse cases, especially when there's a fully paid-off house involved." The words guardianship abuse made my stomach twist. "What can I do?" I whispered. "We protect you," he said simply. "First, we protect your house." He took out some forms and explained slowly, line by line, what a living trust was. How my house, legally, could be owned by the Harper Living Trust, with me as trustee. How I could pick a neutral co-trustee to ensure no one else touched the house without my consent. How it would become legally harder for anyone to refinance or sell it behind my back. "Is this clear?" he asked every few minutes. "Yes," I said. "Crystal. Second," he continued, "we protect your money. You open a new account at a different bank in your name only. We move your savings there. We put fraud alerts and freezes on your credit. That way, if anyone tries to open a card or a loan in your name, you get notified." "And if they already did?" I asked, nodding toward the statements. "Then we document it all," he said. "We contact the banks. We correct the record. And if necessary, we press charges. Financial abuse of an elder is taken seriously in this state." I felt tears burning my eyes, not from sadness this time, but from something like relief. Someone was finally calling this what it was. "Third," he added, "about the cognitive test. Let them schedule their doctor. But before that, I want you to see an independent geriatric specialist I know. He'll run a full assessment. We'll have a written statement of your capacity. If they try to drag you into court later claiming you're incompetent, we'll already have stronger evidence." "So I go take 2 tests?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "One to defend yourself. One to reveal their intentions." That week, I lived a double life. By morning, I was the same grandmother they thought they controlled. Making pancakes, folding laundry, stirring soup, dodging comments like, "You seem more confused lately, Evelyn, don't you?" By afternoon, I was in lawyers' offices, banks, and a doctor's clinic answering questions like, "Who is the president? What is today's date? Can you manage your own finances?" The independent specialist smelled like peppermint, asked me to draw a clock, list animals, remember 3 words. At the end, he smiled and said, "Honestly, you're sharper than most of my interns." He handed me a document stating I was fully capable. I put it in my folder, named it Ammo in my head. Meanwhile, Brianna was setting her stage. I overheard her telling her Uncle Carlos on the phone, "You'll be so impressed by our home. We basically take care of everything now. Poor Evelyn can't keep up. We've stepped in. It's basically our house already. Once we update the paperwork and fix a few little things, everything will be secure. Andrew's business is doing great. We just need that push. You know, maybe you co-signing on a refinance. It's a great investment. My house. As a great investment. For them." That night, I wrote an email. "Dear Mr. Ramirez," I typed, "my name is Evelyn Harper, your niece Brianna's mother-in-law. I hope you don't mind my contacting you, but as a grandmother and widow, I'm worried about the financial situation my son and Brianna are in, and about how it may impact your family as well as mine." I attached a few carefully chosen statements, enough to show financial abuse and lies without sounding hysterical. "I would value your advice," I wrote. "I love them both and want to protect them from bigger problems later." Then I wrote a similar message to Melissa, his other niece, the one who worked in accounting. Within 24 hours, I had responses. Shocked, concerned, asking, "Is this real? Did you authorize this?" A second email from Carlos came the next day. "We were planning to arrive for Christmas Eve. After seeing this, my wife and I will come on the 23rd instead. I think a frank family conversation is necessary. Can you receive us in the morning?" I stared at the date. The 23rd. The same morning, Brianna had scheduled my memory test and a family meeting about Evelyn's future. 2 plans. Same day, same living room, same house. If this were a movie, someone would say it was too on the nose. In real life, it felt like the first time in years that timing was finally on my side. I printed the emails. I stacked them with the trust papers, the clean cognitive test, the bank records. I slid them into a new folder and labeled it in my head. My side of the story. The night before the 23rd, I lay in my small back bedroom staring at the ceiling, listening to them laugh in the living room, unaware that their little confused grandmother had spent the week building a legal wall they were about to hit face first. If you're still with me and your heart is beating faster, it's because you know, this is the part in every toxic family, narcissistic daughter-in-law story where either the older woman breaks or she breaks the pattern. I was done breaking. It was their turn. The morning of the 23rd, I woke up before my alarm, heart pounding like I was about to walk into a courtroom. In a way, I was. The court just happened to be my own living room. Lily padded into the kitchen in her oversized hoodie, hair in a messy bun, phone in her hand like it was welded there. 13 years old and already reading the room better than most adults. "Grandma," she whispered. "Mom is on maximum freakout." She color-coded the throw pillows. I almost laughed. Then Lily dropped her voice even lower. "I heard them late last night. They were in the hallway. They didn't know I was awake. Mom said, once she signs guardianship, it's done. If she refuses, we push the facility angle. No judge wants an old lady burning her house down." My stomach dropped. Did she really say that? Lily nodded. I recorded some of it." She held up her phone, guilty and defiant at the same time. "I know I shouldn't record adults, but it felt wrong. Like a TV show where the villain is about to do something evil." I squeezed her hand. "Sometimes recording the truth is the bravest thing you can do. Do you want to hear it?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "But later, I might need your help. When I look at you and nod, can you be ready?" Her eyes were wide but steady. "I'll be ready." At 10 o'clock sharp, Brianna's chosen geriatric doctor arrived with his old-fashioned leather bag and clinical smile. "Mrs. Harper," he said, "we're just gonna do a little memory check. Nothing scary." He asked me to repeat words, subtract sevens, list animals. The whole time I could feel Brianna hovering in the doorway, arms crossed, as if she wanted to whisper answers in my ear and fail me at the same time. When he left, she looked smug. "See," she told Andrew, "once his report comes in, we'll have proof, and Uncle Carlos will see we're being responsible." At 11, there was a knock at the door. Carlos and Rosa stepped in, bringing a gust of cold air and a different energy. The kind you get from people who've worked hard, saved harder, and don't tolerate nonsense. "Evelyn," Carlos said, hugging me. "At last, the famous grandmother." "I don't feel very famous today," I said. Everyone gathered in the living room. The tree glowed. The nativity scene on the shelf looked like it was watching us. I sat in my usual armchair. Lily sat on the floor near my feet, phone hidden in her sleeve. Andrew and Brianna took the couch. Carlos and Rosa sat opposite, with Melissa and her husband on dining chairs. Brianna cleared her throat, voice trembling in a way that would play very well on social media. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "This is hard, but we love Evelyn and we need to talk about her future." She painted a picture of a fragile, confused woman. A woman who left stoves on, mixed up medications, nearly set the house on fire. She described carrying the load of bills, repairs, and decisions. She used phrases like elder care, safety, and duty. If I hadn't been sitting there, I might have believed her. Narcissistic, manipulative people are good storytellers. "She's not safe managing finances anymore," Brianna said. "Everything is still in her name. That's too much responsibility for someone in her condition." Andrew and I propose a simple solution. She opened a folder and slid a stack of papers across the coffee table toward me. "We update her will so the house reflects what she's always said she wanted. It goes to us. And we establish guardianship or durable power of attorney so we can sign for her. The doctor agrees she needs support. It's standard. It protects her. It protects the house. And it shows you, Uncle, that we're responsible enough to handle any investment you might consider in Andrew's business or a refinance." "Evelyn," Carlos said gently, "do you understand what Brianna is asking you to sign?" I picked up the top page. "Petition for voluntary guardianship." The words blurred for a second, not because I was confused, but because I was furious. I understand, I said. Great, Brianna cut in, forcing a bright smile. She grabbed a pen and held it out to me, like we were about to sign a birthday card. If you just sign here, we can get the notary this afternoon. It'll be so much easier on everyone. I didn't take the pen, not yet. Instead, I reached down, picked up my tote bag, and set it on my lap. I unzipped it very slowly. The living room was so quiet we could hear the tree lights hum. I brought some papers too, I said. Brianna's hand froze midair. What papers? The ones about my mind, I said, pulling out the independent cognitive assessment and setting it on the table. And my house. And my money. I slid the report toward Carlos and Melissa. This is from an independent geriatric specialist, I explained. Not chosen by Brianna. He evaluated me last week. You can read his conclusion. Melissa scanned it, lips moving. Patient demonstrates no signs of dementia or cognitive impairment, fully capable of understanding and managing her personal and financial affairs. She looked up slowly. Brianna laughed, high and brittle. She probably rehearsed. Older people can fool doctors all the time. Our doctor? Our doctor, Carlos repeated, isn't here. This one is, and his opinion counts. I laid down the next packet, the trust documents. This is the new title to the house, I said. As of last week, 114 Maple Lane is held by the Harper Living Trust. I am the trustee. Mark here is co-trustee. No one can refine or sell this house without my written consent and his. Andrew stared at the papers like they were in another language. You did this without telling us? He stammered. You plan to take my name off the door without telling me, I said. I learned from the best. Brianna's face turned a dangerous shade of red. You can't do that. This is our home. We've invested in it. My family has been lied to, I interrupted. I placed the bank statements and credit card summaries on the table next. These show a home equity line of credit taken out against my house 2 years ago, I said. And several credit cards opened in my name and Andrew's. I did not authorize them. Andrew didn't either. Melissa's eyes flew over the numbers. The email contact is your address, Brianna, she said quietly. The phone number is yours. The IP address on the applications is this house. It was for repairs, Brianna shot back. For the plumbing, for her medical bills, for Lily, for our family. The roof was fixed 3 years before you moved in, I said. My Medicare and supplemental insurance cover my care. You used my house as your personal ATM. Andrew's face crumpled. Bree, did you forge my mom's signature? She grabbed his arm. Andrew, listen to me. This is being blown out of proportion. I did what I had to do. For us. For our future. Your mother hoards money and clings to this old house. I just used what will be ours one day to give us a head start. I pulled out the last piece. Lily, I said softly. Ready? She nodded and opened her phone, thumb hovering over the screen. Mom, I'm sorry, she whispered. But this is what you said. She hit play. Brianna's voice filled the room, tinny but unmistakable. Once she signs guardianship, it's done. She can't unsign it. And if she refuses, we push the facility idea. Old, confused, unsafe in her own home. That sells. Judges eat that up. Then we have full control. House, money, everything. Uncle Carlos will be impressed we got it handled. No one wants to invest in a business tied to a crazy old lady with all the power. Turn that off, Brianna shrieked, lunging forward. Carlos held up a hand. Let it finish. I'm just so tired of living in her space. The recording continued. This lady decor, these ugly curtains. Once it's ours on paper, first thing I'm doing is ripping every trace of her life out of here. This place will finally look like it belongs to us. She can visit on weekends. Maybe. Lily stopped the recording. The only sound left was Brianna's ragged breathing. If having your own daughter-in-law call you a crazy old lady and talk about ripping your life out of your own home doesn't count as family injustice, I don't know what does. Carlos stood slowly, jaw clenched. Brianna, he said, voice like ice, you told us this was your house. You told us Evelyn was basically a guest. You asked us to invest in Andrew's business, to consider co-signing a refinance, based on lies. You have been financially abusing your mother-in-law and manipulating all of us. This is being blown out of proportion, Brianna cried. Everyone is ganging up on me. This is elder abuse in reverse. She's using her age to paint me as a villain. No, I said quietly. You painted that picture yourself. We finally turned the lights on. And the scene you just heard? That wasn't the climax yet. That was just the point where the villain's mask cracked and started to fall. In that moment, with Brianna standing in the middle of my living room, shaking, mascara smudged, I could almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered every time she'd waved off my pain, called me confused, hinted at putting me in a place, all while signing my name onto debts I didn't know existed. "Let me be very clear," Mark said, breaking the silence as he closed his briefcase with a soft click. "We have documented evidence of unauthorized use of Mrs. Harper's identity and assets, financial abuse of an elder, attempted guardianship abuse. And now, thanks to Lily, we have audio proof of intent." "Intent," Melissa echoed, looking sick. Brianna's eyes darted from face to face, searching for an ally. She landed on Andrew. "You're really going to sit there and let them attack me?" Andrew's hands were shaking. "Did you really plan to put my mother in a facility just to get the house?" he asked, voice raw. "It's not like that," she protested. "We wouldn't have thrown her in some horrible place. There are nice homes, good ones. She'd have activities and nurses and no keys," I interrupted. "No control, no say." Andrew pressed his fingers into his eyes like he was trying to wipe the last 6 years away. "You told me the home equity line was a temporary solution," he said. "You said the cards were for consolidating debt, that Uncle Carlos was excited to invest because of my business." "He was," she insisted. "He will be, if they stop being dramatic and we fix this narrative. Uncle, tell them you understand. Tell them this is just a misunderstanding." Carlos made a sound halfway between a laugh and a growl. "Brianna," he said, "if a stranger had brought me this evidence, a forged signature, hidden debt, recordings of you plotting to strip an old woman of her autonomy, I would call the police. The only reason we're even talking calmly is because you are blood." Rosa spoke softly, but her words landed like stones. "We raised you to work hard and respect elders. Instead, you chose to become a manipulative, almost narcissistic daughter-in-law, using family to cover greed." Brianna opened her mouth, closed it, then looked at me. "You wanted this," she spat. "You wanted to be the victim. You could have talked to me. You went behind my back, turned my family against me. You made me the villain." "I didn't make you anything," I said. "I just stopped cleaning up your messes in the dark." Mark cleared his throat. "Here's what's going to happen. 1. The guardianship papers are void. Mrs. Harper will not be signing them. The trust protections for the house stand. 2. We will work with the banks to close the fraudulent accounts and reassign responsibility for the debts tied to your actions, Brianna. 3. Any further attempt to coerce or manipulate Mrs. Harper into signing control of her assets will be documented and could be grounds for criminal charges." "Charges?" Andrew repeated faintly. "Yes," Mark said. "Financial exploitation of an elderly person is a crime in this state. So is identity fraud." Brianna sank onto the couch, eyes wide. "You'd put me in jail?" "I don't want you in jail," I said. "I want you out of my accounts, out of my passwords, and out of my decisions. And out of this house," Rosa added quietly. Brianna snapped her head toward her aunt. "You too?" Carlos looked around the room. "We came here thinking we'd have a big, cozy family Christmas, hosted by a sweet, confused grandmother and her responsible children. What we walked into was a textbook case of elder abuse and financial manipulation. This is not a holiday. This is an intervention." "What about my business?" Andrew asked hoarsely, still staring at the papers. Carlos sighed. "I believe in you, Andrew. I always have. But I cannot and will not tie my money to this mess. Until the debts your wife created are addressed and the house is fully protected, there will be no investment, no co-signing, no refinance." The words hit Andrew like a physical blow. He hunched forward, elbows on knees, head in his hands. For the first time, I saw not just my son, but a man drowning in consequences he hadn't even realized were being poured on top of him. "This could ruin us," he whispered. "It almost ruined your mother already," Melissa pointed out gently. Lily's small hand slid into mine. I squeezed it, feeling the tremor in her fingers. She'd watched this entire unraveling with the big, shocked eyes of a child who realizes the grown-ups don't know what they're doing. "We're leaving," Brianna announced suddenly, surging to her feet. "All of you can enjoy Christmas with poor, innocent Evelyn. We're done here. You will leave," Mark said calmly. "But not like that. For now, you still live under Mrs. Harper's roof. You will pack. You will find a place to rent. And you will not leave this house with a single piece of paper that belongs to her." I took a deep breath. "You have until the end of January," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "After that, you will not be living here. You may visit with Lily by invitation, but this is my home, not your stepping stone to a bigger house, a better life, or a cleaner conscience." Brianna looked like she wanted to argue. Then she saw the faces around her. Uncle, aunt, cousin, husband, daughter, all looking at me, not her. "This isn't fair," she muttered. No, I said. It isn't. What you did for the last 6 years wasn't fair. This is the beginning of justice. Later that day, after Carlos and Rosa left for a hotel, we need some distance to breathe and think, Rosa said. We ordered pizza. There we were, me, Andrew, and Lily, eating greasy slices on paper plates in a half-decorated living room, surrounded by boxes of lies that had just exploded. Some Christmas, Andrew said bitterly. Honestly, I replied, it's the closest thing to honest this family has been in years. If you're still listening, I want you to remember this. Justice for a mother or grandmother doesn't always come in the form of a judge banging a gavel. Sometimes it comes as a canceled refinance, a torn-up guardianship form, and a grown son realizing his wife almost sold his mother's life out from under her. And sometimes it comes in the form of a 13-year-old girl with a shaky phone and a spine of steel. The days that followed felt like waking up inside a house after an earthquake. Everything was still standing, technically, but nothing was where it used to be. Carlos and Rosa moved to a hotel and spent the rest of their holiday helping Melissa comb through the financial damage. They called in loans Brianna had taken from cousins using my imaginary future inheritance as collateral. Quiet justice, one cousin at a time. Mark helped me call every bank, every card company. This is Evelyn Harper, I said over and over. I did not authorize this account. I did not sign that form. I am the victim of financial abuse. The first time I said victim, my throat clenched. By the 10th call, it came out steady. Fraud alerts went on my credit. Unauthorized accounts were closed. Some debts were reassigned legally to Brianna, some to Andrew and Brianna jointly. Andrew accepted his part in not paying attention. I was so busy not wanting to fight with my wife, he said one afternoon, eyes red, that I let her fight you instead. Brianna walked around the house those weeks like a ghost in her own haunting. Her fake cheerful mask was gone. She cried, she raged, she slammed cabinets. She alternated between blaming me, blaming Andrew, and blaming the system. This is cancel culture for families, she complained to her mother on the phone one day, unaware I was in the hallway. One recording and everyone acts like I'm some monster. I did what I had to do. You would have done the same. I wondered briefly, what kind of family tree produces that kind of fruit? Lily and I cooked together more in those weeks than we had all year. Grandma, is this what a toxic family really looks like? She asked one night as we rolled out pie crust. It looks like this when no one tells the truth, I said. When appearances matter more than people. When someone like your mother uses love as a leash. Are you going to send her to jail? She asked, voice small. I wiped flour off my hands. No, I said. I'm going to send her to life, with consequences. She will pay back what she owes. She will live within her means. And she will never again sign my name to anything. Is that enough? Lily whispered. It has to be, I said, though a small part of me thought about courtrooms and judges and headlines about guardianship abuse exposed. Justice that protects our safety and your future is more important to me than revenge. At the end of January, Andrew loaded a borrowed truck with boxes and furniture. They'd found a modest 2-bedroom apartment across town. No ocean view, no open-concept dream house, like Brianna had been browsing online. Just a place they could afford with their own money. Brianna was sullen, her goodbye stiff. Thank you for everything, she said without looking me in the eye. You're welcome, I replied. I hope you use what you've learned. She huffed. All I learned is that I should have protected myself better. I let it go. Some people need longer to understand that boundaries are not attacks. Andrew hugged me like he was trying to apologize with his whole body. Mom, I'm so sorry, he whispered into my shoulder. I know, I said. Show me with your choices now. Lily threw her arms around my waist. You're still my favorite person, she said. Good, I replied, because I have a lot of recipes and a lot of stories left, and I'm not cooking or telling them for just anyone. After they left, I changed the locks. Not because I feared them breaking in, but because I wanted a small ritual. A click that said, new rules now. New rules like, no one walks into my home without knocking. No one opens my mail but me. No one touches my bank statements. No one uses the words, for your own good, while holding a pen and a legal form. I hired a cleaning service again, on my terms, with my card, scheduled when I wanted. I signed up for water aerobics at the community center. I joined a book club at church. Slowly, the house remembered it belonged to me. The cushions started to sag in the spots where I sat, not where company posed for photos. The kitchen smelled like the things I wanted to cook, not what I thought would impress guests. Other women started coming to me with their own stories. My daughter says I'm too old to manage the house deed alone, one church friend whispered. She keeps bringing me simple forms to sign. Should I have someone look at them? Yes, I said firmly. Always. My son and his wife live with us. Another sighed. They say my social security is family money. They decide everything. I thought I was being generous. Now I feel trapped. It's not selfish to protect what you built, I told her. Word spread quietly. Evelyn is the one you talk to if your kids suddenly care too much about your will. Evelyn is the one who knows a good elder law attorney. One afternoon, Andrew came over alone with a bag of groceries. He rolled up his sleeves, did the dishes without being asked, wiped the counters, then sat down at the table. I started therapy, he said. Good, I answered. I realized I've been afraid of conflict my whole life. With Brianna, with you, with myself. That's how toxic patterns survive, I said. Everyone avoids conflict while someone else gets crushed. He nodded. I don't want Lily to grow up thinking this is normal. I want her to remember her grandmother as a woman who fought back, not just as the lady in the kitchen making everything look easy. I smiled, tears prickling. Then you're already doing better than we did. Lily came over almost every weekend. When she was with me, she followed my house rules. She helped set the table. She learned that cooking and cleaning were not Grandma's job alone, but shared acts of love, not acts of servitude. I caught her once recording me telling part of the story, and she grinned. What are you doing? I asked. Practicing, she said. You're not the only one who can tell family and justice stories, you know. If some other grandmother finds her voice because mine did, then every painful piece of this was a seed. It's been almost 3 years since the day I saw my name under house staff on that Christmas schedule. I'm 71 now. My hair is thinner, my knees are louder, but my spine has never been stronger. The house is quieter and safer. The white faux fur throws Brianna loved so much are long gone. My old patched quilts are back, the ones that don't match anything except my memories. The mantle over the fireplace holds fewer decorations but truer ones. Walter's photo, Lily's orchestra picture, a small framed print that says, "This home is not a hotel." Andrew comes on Sundays with Lily. Sometimes they bring dinner. Sometimes we cook together. He calls before coming. He asks, "Is today a good day?" The first time he did that, I almost cried. Respect is such a small word and such a big feeling. He's still paying down the debts he let happen by looking away. He gives me updates not because I demanded them, but because he wants to be transparent. I don't want there to be any shadows between us again, he said once. Brianna and I have a careful truce. She and Andrew are still together, at least for now. They're doing couples therapy. She has a part-time job she actually shows up for. Melissa keeps a quiet eye on her finances like a smoke alarm. When she comes to my house for Lily's birthday or a holiday, we are civil. She doesn't touch my mail. She doesn't comment on my decor. She doesn't use the words guardianship or facility around me anymore. That's not forgiveness in the movie sense. That's boundaries in the real-life sense. Lily is 16 now. She drives. She has a part-time job. She knows more about red flags, financial abuse, and toxic family patterns than I did at 50. Grandma, you went viral in my head, she joked once. You're like my own internal "don't you dare" warning. We laugh, but I know what she means. On her last birthday, she hugged me and said, "Thank you for not letting them make you small. It teaches me not to let anyone make me small either." That was better than any store-bought gift. Sometimes at night I sit in my favorite chair, lights off, TV off, just listening to the house breathe. I think about how close I came to losing everything. My home, my independence, my legal rights. All under the disguise of love and help. If you're listening to this and you feel that same tight knot in your chest, the knot that says, "They tell me I'm crazy, but I don't think I am," I want to leave you with a few things I've learned. Your overreacting is often code for "you noticed." Boundaries do not kill love. Boundaries protect love from turning into abuse. Guardianship, wills, and power of attorney can be tools of care or weapons. The difference is respect and consent. You are not staff in your own story. You are the one holding the keys. If your daughter-in-law, son, or any relative starts talking about helping with your finances, your house deed, your will, especially if they use words like standard form, just sign here, or facility, get a neutral set of eyes on those papers. A lawyer, a social worker, a trusted friend who knows how to read fine print. You are never too old to ask questions. You are never too old to say no. You are never too old to change the ending of your story. If my voice has reached you in a little kitchen somewhere, a mother in Texas, a grandmother in New York, an aunt in California, or a retired teacher in another country entirely, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I really want to know how far a grandmother's enough can travel. And if you're a woman over 40, over 50, over 60, who has ever felt used, invisible, or afraid of being labeled crazy or dramatic for wanting respect, I'd love for you to stay. Subscribe, join this community of mothers and grandmothers who are done being the silent house staff in their own lives. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, a sister, a neighbor, maybe even that quiet lady at church who always looks tired. Because the more of us who say, this is financial abuse, this is elder abuse, this is a toxic, narcissistic pattern, and I won't play along, the harder it becomes for anyone to hide behind the word family while they steal our dignity. My name is Evelyn. I am 71 years old. I still live in my own home. Not because they allowed it, because I learned to say no, to get proof, and to believe that a grandmother's dignity is not optional. It's an inheritance we receive and we pass on, with the seams showing, so no one ever forgets where it was torn and carefully sewn back together.